Man, y'all wild. You realize Beasley shooting 46% from three? Man, y'all better stop playing with that man.
That's how we're coming in.
Yep. Yep.
We're not coming in on that.
JT is ready for the
I'm just
discussion.
saying.
But come on in the room. Come on in the room. The Bucks win it 128-119 over a scrappy, good Houston Rockets basketball team. Back to back, the Bucks win it 128-119. Come on in the room. Adrian is our doctor. He writes out all of our scriptures. He gives us all of our. Good Lord, JT having a rough start to the show tonight. Come on in the room. We are live at the Cream City crossover. It's a 128-119 victory for the Milwaukee Bucks. It's the guru, Trey Crosby III.
JT, I didn't break nothing.
Sounded like you broke something. It sounded like you broke something, but all right, I'll take your word for it. The Bucks win tonight, 128-119. This is a back-to-back after you had to win last night over a trash Detroit Pistons team. You come back, you had to play Ime Udoka's Houston Rockets. Listen, let me ask you a question. Where are the Griff haters at now? Where are the Dr. Griffin haters at now? You can go ahead and at me at TCIIIESQ to get into the chat. A lot of your comments already coming in. Also on the YouTube as well. Like, subscribe, follow, all of that. At the Cream City crossover 128-119. If you are a Dr. Griffin hater, this is going to be tough for you. Another tough one coming out the pike for you. 13 consecutive home wins for the Milwaukee Bucks. They beat a streaking Houston Rockets team who have won 5 in a row, I think, coming into tonight. And let's go through a game just to kind of reset this thing. What happened tonight? 39-11 from Damian Lillard in 36 minutes. 18 points from Brook Lopez, 6 boards. Giannis, 26-17. He broke the franchise record for rebounds over the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Shout out to Kareem and wishing you a speedy recovery. Broke his hip. How old is Kareem? Is he in his 80s or 70s?
I think he's in his late 70s.
Late 70s, yeah. Broken hip at a concert in your late 70s. I don't know what you're laughing at, Chris. What you laughing, man? Breaking his hip. I don't know why
laughing.
you do it. That's disrespectful.
Look,
I'm just talking about his hip. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, what is he doing at a concert? Why is he at a concert, first of all? I mean, he's got to be told for that. Second off, I was laughing because I had no idea how old he was. Maybe that is something I should know off the top of my head, but I have no clue. I just know old.
I need y'all. Yeah.
Show some respect.
Lou Alcindor, because his mama named Lou, right? There's a whole lot of us are gonna call him Lou, but y'all better leave Lou Alcindor alone. Milwaukee Bucks legend.
Yeah, he's definitely
me and him got beef.
Man. What he do to you?
They beat Dayton in the 1967 national championship.
Oh man!
So I mean, like, bro, that could be our lone title. I wouldn't lie for it, but I've seen the replay. He was doing our white guys dirty.
He was on that UCLA team. The UCLA team beat everybody. Like, they didn't lose a game for what, like 4 years?
At least we made it. That's it.
Oh, okay. So Chris is hating on Kareem,
right.
But that's okay. He is a Bucks legend, keeping it rolling. Chris Middleton had 20 points tonight. It looked like it was gonna be a real rough night for Chris Middleton as this thing, went on throughout the game. But in the fourth quarter, it's almost like the Bucks were on a mission to see. It was like they had a side mission to see if they could win the game exclusively going through Chris Middleton in the fourth quarter in a close game. And Chris Middleton absolutely delivered. He had 4 points going into the fourth quarter, finished with 20, 6 points going into the fourth quarter, finished with 30 minutes of action. The ramp, JT, as we talk about it, has gone up for Chris Middleton. He's routinely seeing that 28, 29, 30 type minutes. So that's good to see from him. Bobby Portis had a hot night, 11.6 boards. Got into it with some guys, was scrappy all the way around. Marjon Beauchamp did not score. Pat Connaughton, 5 points campaign, did not score as well. So only 16 points off the bench. But he 39, 26, and 20 from your big three. That'll work. Brook Lopez chipped in 18 as well. On the Houston side of things, they kind of had a lot of the same thing going. With Fred VanVleet, 22, Jalen Green, 16, Sengun had 28 and 5. He was really good. Jabari Smith Jr. Had 16, 5, and 2. Had a really nice jump shot on him. He has a real smooth jumper. And Dylan Brooks, 18 points. He and Ime Udoka did get kicked out of that basketball game. Jeff Green tapped in with 16 points as well. Let an old man game and play well. Going through this game, JT, I was watching it, and I thought in the first quarter, the Bucks hung, I think, 71 on Houston in the first quarter, whatever it was. This is a Houston Rockets basketball team, and I hadn't seen them play personally this year, but a lot of good things have come out of them. You know what they've looked like in years past. Ime Udoka goes there, and they've made themselves a formidable basketball team very quickly here as the season goes. They're 13-10 or 13-9 coming into this thing. So they've been able to win games. They've been able to play great defense. Number 2 defense in the NBA. Or number 1, depends on what metric you want to use to call your defense. But they were, they play at a slow pace. The Bucks were, I think, in the first half really able to dictate the pace and the flow. And then the second half, things did slow down a bit for the Milwaukee Bucks, but you were able to score just enough to beat this team. Didn't win the third quarter. It was 31-29 Houston, and the fourth quarter was a 28-28 draw. So in the third and the fourth quarter, the Houston Rockets were able to keep the Bucks under 30 points in both of those quarters, but the damage had been done throughout the games. The Bucks were able to get a win, 128-119. I guess the only other thing I'll kind of go at before I let you have a take at this is, Chris Middleton in the fourth quarter was absolutely electric. He was very good. Damian Lillard, and I'll start with Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, 15 points against Detroit in the first quarter, 15 points in the first quarter against Houston. He started off hot and lit it up. I thought the Bucks did very well. Look at the glass, 46-31. You beat Houston on the glass. I know that's one of the things you like to look at, JT. So a good job from the Bucks there. Beat down the Houston reserves in plus minus points, and so I think again the Bucks just did a really good job, solid all the way through. I'll give Houston a lot of credit for staying connected. I think they got it to within 5. But I don't know if this was a wire-to-wire win from the Bucks. But when you look at it, and it's the way I was kind of watching, it was never in doubt. Even when I think the Bucks got a lead up to 14, Houston chipped away at it, got it to 5. I think that's as close as they got, but it just never seemed in doubt. The Bucks ran away with it, continued and played well. Chris Middleton down the stretch, Giannis down the stretch, Dame down the stretch. Brooke hit a big 3 in the corner as well. A lot of good things, a lot of positives to look at with this basketball team. 128-119. Bucks win it. JT, what say you?
Yeah, well, in addition to the fact that Giannis and Dame, look, that combination was overwhelming tonight. Do want to point out a couple things. Yes, the Bucks did get the battle of the boards, like you said, 46-31, which is not really a ton of rebounds for this game, but glad to see the Bucks overwhelm the Rockets on the boards. But then let's also talk about something that's really important. You realize the Bucks tonight had 16 offensive rebounds. That's significant because I think that's one of the higher totals that the Bucks have had all year. And remember, the Bucks for the balance of this season have really been somewhere between 27th and 30th in offensive rebounds per game as a team. So, got to give some credit there too. And you know what, man? I'm going to go ahead and give some love to your boy, Andre Jackson Jr., the rookie. Played 36 minutes tonight, right? Season high total minutes for him tonight, and put up some solid numbers, right? What was it, 9 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Look, credit given, making the best of his moment, efficient shooting night for him too, as well, 4 for 6 from the field. So, got to definitely point that out for Bucks fans who are paying attention to Andre Jackson Jr. because again, his contributions are not always on the stat sheet. But solid time for the rookie to take advantage of that moment. Other thing though, the bench. Boy, the Bucks bench. Outside of Bobby Portis, we did not get much at all from the bench tonight. The Bucks bench tonight had what? You had Bobby Portis with 11 and Pat Connaughton with 5. Ooh man, but Marjan, Cam, 4 for 4 from 3, 0 for 4 from field. Yeah, you just really didn't get a whole lot, but you didn't need it. So salute to the Bucks tonight.
Thought I saw a lot of good things, especially towards the end. I know we'll talk about the fourth quarter, but I think that's the threat that the Bucks pose is down the stretch when Dame and Giannis are on. Then you get a guy like Chris Middleton going, and then it's really dangerous. So you talk about the ball movement and how they were trying to pack the paint on Giannis in the fourth quarter, and it just freed up so much offense for Chris Middleton for him to go one-on-one with some smaller guys, for him to get to the rim and get fouled. And I really like that. I think that's where the Bucks want to be towards the end of the season. Obviously, it wasn't perfect because the Rockets were still able to chip at it, but I do think this is what you're going to see from the Bucks if they're all able to figure each other out. Because look, Chris Middleton, 14 points in the fourth, like that's elite. That's stuff that we need from a third option.
It was definitely elite, and you talk about him being a third option. That was one of the things that I thought about as well. As soon as I as I was watching this thing, it's like, man, how good is it to have a guy who, to Tony World says 9 minutes too many for Chris Middleton, but how good of how nice is it to have your third option be a guy in a game that comes down to a close game, 5, 6, 7-point swing in the Bucks' direction. You got a guy that you can go to who's your number 3, who's going to hit shot after shot after shot, back down, turn around. Some of those were tough contested buckets that he put in. And like you said, got to the line. He scored in a variety of different ways. And I thought that was really good for the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Hunter Petty said, have a game, Dame. Going through some of the comments, Abu Dramani Diamande said, solid defense. Andre Jackson Jr. energy makes me fall in love with him. I can go that far. Dame is finally coming out of his slump and looks more like himself. Rebounding for the team was great. And just like you mentioned, we are finally getting back on defense. We move. Be at BSD Gazelle says, love how Andrew Jackson Jr. minutes were matched up with Fred VanVleet. Another masterclass from Coach Griff. And Miss Witt versus Whitney said the indie game lit a fire under this team. I'm loving it. Al Farouk Amino for 3 in the YouTube chat says Dame had 15 career games of 40 points and 10 assists, which ranked 4th most all time. As a Dame fan, I wish he had gotten one more point. At the end of the game, I thought maybe would Dame go for it. He had 39. There's 30 seconds to go, or whatever, and they just went. They took the delay, the shot clock violation, and let the whole thing go. So it is what it is. But yeah, I thought that again, Dame was just really good, efficient in every different way. Again, he had 12 of 13 from the line, 11 of 19 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3. So he shot 62% from 3, 11 assists, 3 steals as well. I mean, just the every aspect of this game from Damian Lillard was very good. He was extremely good. And the crazy thing is, in the fourth quarter, which we could talk about, it seemed like I didn't understand this. Maybe it was because Chris was cooking a little bit in the fourth, but Chris kept bringing the ball up, and I'm like, man, Chris was bringing the ball up, looking like Chris Paul in the finals, back to the basket. I mean, I was just deathly afraid every time Chris has the ball of some type of turnover. He didn't turn the ball over that much in the fourth, but he did throughout the night. But it seemed like they kind of, I don't want to say they froze Dame out a bit in the fourth. I know people have talked about that, but all's well that ends well. I think Dame did have a couple buckets that he hit. I think he shook Sengun one time, sat him on his butt. Ain't nothing down there. You looking at the ground? Ain't nothing down there, big dog. We shooting that ball for the 3. We knocking it in. And so again, it was an absolutely great performance from Damian Lillard. And yeah, you look at the fourth quarter and defensively as well. So anytime the Bucks are holding teams under 30 points, for the most part, the Bucks are going to put up 30 just about every quarter. So if we can hold teams in somewhere in mid-20s, I'm okay with that every single time. Again, hold you under 30. 30 quarters, 120. If we can hold teams, somewhere moderately there, 119, maybe a little bit. I'm telling you, the Bucks are going to win. If we're holding teams at 119, you got enough offense to where you win a lot of games. And to the listeners' comment there, does it look like Dame has started to make his ascension? Where before, it's these big nights on non-efficient stuff. You got these having to break out in the fourth quarter. But tonight it was an all-around game from start to finish from Damian Lillard. And one of the things we've been waiting on that we haven't seen all the time, where Giannis and Dame both have good games together. When that's happening, it's not just one or the other. Bucks are a real big. It's just a threat when they walk into your building anytime.
Oh, 100%. Think about it. This offense can get buckets. That's what makes them so dangerous. Is like this offense. There's no reason why the Bucks can't score 30 points a quarter. At least like 28 minimum, right? There's no reason why this Bucks offense can get buckets. And you think about it. You think about Giannis and Dame, right? 2 of the best scorers in this league. Then you talk about Chris Middleton. You talk about Chris Middleton as a third option, right? Which, as a healthy Chris Middleton as your third option is unbelievable, right? When you think about that, right? An actual healthy Chris. But then think about you were missing Malik Beasley, right? You're missing a 3-point sharpshooter tonight as well, right? Mm-hmm. There's so much talent and potential, I think, in this offense. And I know we focus a lot on the defense. And again, y'all know how I feel about defense. What I tell you about defense, right? We just need to make another 3. You okay?
Defense is a made 3-pointer, yes, sir.
Right. You solve all your problems by making another 3. So yeah, I definitely was impressed, man. And it's good. It's good to see this back to back. I mean, last night, the Bucks absolutely dismantled Detroit, right? And I think some of these guys got half the fourth quarter off. But to come back tonight on the back-to-back and see the solid performance, especially from Dame, because I think people were worried about Dame. I think most Bucks fans weren't, but I think there was a good portion that were a little worried, like, hey, Dame doesn't really look the way he's looked the last few years. What's going on here? But we're going to be all right, guys. We're going to be all right.
Yeah, I think you're starting to see just a new confidence with Dame as well, just being out there and being able to knock down some easy ones, some open ones, and create offense more and more once Giannis kind of keeps some attention off of him and he's able to get Dame the ball in space. And when Dame's cooking and he's getting guys switched on him that can't guard him, like you said, the Şengün thing, I was laughing at. That was crazy. He was touching earth. And when Dame is able to get going, it's hard to stop. And then, like I said earlier, it just allows the offense to move a lot more fluidly with Chris being open for some open looks, and even Andre Jackson had some open looks tonight. And ultimately, he had one that he shot off the side of the backboard.
Yeah,
that was wild. But yeah, I mean, he just frees up so much offense for this team when he's comfortable, and that's a credit to Giannis as well. I mean, they were literally packing the paint, 4 or 5 guys in the paint on Giannis. So at some point, Giannis was able to just give it to Dame and let him work, and that's what you saw from Dame today. And if he can stay that comfortable throughout the course of this season, I think it'll be really good.
Yeah, Jabari Smith got a lesson tonight. Again, that's kind of what it is. You're going against Giannis Antetokounmpo. He had 5 fouls, and I knew they were in trouble when they had Şengün on. The only thing I think I could have looked at that the Bucks could have done better in that fourth quarter. They played exclusively through Giannis, Dame, and Chris when there were a lot of times because they were getting Chris because that's ultimate, like, oh my God, what do we do? When you got Giannis that can score at will, you got Dame shooting lights out the ball, and you got Chris putting up 16 in the fourth. You can maybe one guy, okay, 2 guys. Woo, we're stretched thin. You got 3 guys that are going there. There's nothing you can do as a defense. And the crazy thing is, the Houston Rockets multiple times in the fourth quarter had mismatches where they got Fred VanVleet switched onto Brook Lopez, and for whatever, and the Bucks were so content with, we got 34-22 or 0 that they really weren't looking at Brook at all. But to their credit or whatever, however you want to say it, it wasn't like Brook Lopez got in the paint and started saying, hey, throw me the ball. He was standing outside the 3-point line. I told you before, I can guard Brook Lopez if he's going to stay outside the 3-point line, just put a hand up, hope he misses. So, I would have loved to see in the fourth quarter, you kind of take advantage of the mismatches when a defense is doing anything they can to stop the bleeding from your best guys, and they're willing to put their worst defender on Brook Lopez to do that. I think you could have gone inside, but again, all's well that ends well. Bucks that just no problem at all. And then the only other thing I saw that could have got cleaned up again, and this may have been just a Houston Rockets team that's young, trying to figure out how to play. But Bud's defense, and again, Bucks are in a drop, which is Bud's defense. It's figured out. You can get the threes, and I thought Houston settled way too much because again, that defense is built to give up the 16-footer, give up that little floater, give up those shots in the mid-range, and you're going to hit a fair amount of them because you're going to be open. But to really exploit that defense, you've got to work the ball out to outside the paint until you can get those 3-point shots. And Houston didn't do enough of it till maybe late in the third quarter. By then, again, it was just a little too late.
Yeah, it was too late. I mean, my bad. I thought JT had something. No, but when they cut it down to 3, like you said, Trey, earlier, I was never worried. I was never fazed. I knew this Bucks team was able to just keep extending that lead, and it was because they had so many open looks on the offensive end, and everything seemed easy for the Bucks in that fourth quarter. And I think that just them being able to do it back to back, not only just back to back, but against 2 teams that historically in the past couple of years haven't been very good. I mean, it just shows that this Bucks team did have something clicking after the Indiana game. So I think this is a stride that the Bucks are now starting to hit. Hopefully they take it into Christmas and into this little break that they have and keep going, keep the momentum rolling.
Yeah, would certainly agree with that, right? It's looking a little choppy, but hey, we're finding our groove. And again, we're 18-7 right now, and we have not found. Are we 18-7 or 19?
19-7.
19-7. I'm sorry. We're 19-7 right now, and I think most Bucks fans can observe it. And they've made this observation that we have not found our groove yet. Right? It's been a little bit choppy. It's been some tough sledding at times, but. Can you imagine this team when it actually is at full strength? Everybody's clicking, and this offense gets rolling. I mean, I think it's not unreasonable to think you're going to see another 10-game winning streak, a 15-game winning streak, especially once these guys really get this thing rolling. Everybody gets comfortable, and everybody's healthy. And the best part about being 19-7 right now is that we can watch this team, and we can see that this team is nowhere near at its peak, and it can get so much better.
At Mason Cracky says, felt like the Bucks were in complete control the whole time. Even when the Rockets close, you felt like, even when the Rockets cut it close, you felt like the Bucks still had it in the bag. And Gabrielle Foster says, please tell me what happened with MA. Was watching the Warriors game and missed it. Yeah, so in that fourth quarter, what ended up happening, if you were watching that game, was Chris was bringing the ball up, and Chris actually gets the Rockets get into their full court press. Chris, of course, is about to throw the ball away because that's just what he does. And the ball starts rolling out of bounds, and I think it was, and so Dillon Brooks is running towards it. Him and Chris, I think they got a little tangled up. I don't think, but it wasn't that much. Both guys going for the ball. I believe Dillon Brooks tried to save it or something like that, but he goes flying out of bounds. And basically, I think he tried to act as if Chris pushed him out of bounds. Chris really didn't, so he goes flying into the first row, and Dillon Brooks is like upset there wasn't a foul call, but the ref, instead of calling a foul, not only did not call a foul, they called a flopping violation, which I hadn't seen in a while. Like they've been calling flops the first couple weeks of the season, and then they've just gone away from it. It's kind of like the NFL where they call all these, they didn't call offensive offsides all year, and then I'm watching the game, and then they called a Kadarius Toney. And then I'm watching the game today. I think I saw 5. So I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? What's the rule? So, but anyway, they called it flopping, and Dillon Brooks, got after him and had some choice words for the refs. And then I think, to me, Dillon Brooks, I think it's a lot of action. No real oomph behind it. I think he wanted to get kicked out the game. That's what I really believe. He did enough to get kicked out, and then Ime Udoka followed suit. I think. I didn't think they really had a gripe. I mean, do you call it flop? I don't know. Maybe not. But I think he's just losing and getting tired of losing. And he wanted to hit the showers early tonight. That was all off from Dillon Brooks.
I mean, you kind of expect that, right? That's like you said, that's all part of that persona with Dillon Brooks here. You gotta do some things that people expect you to do to keep up that reputation. And I hope it works out for him. I really do, right? Again, I agree with you. I think the substance is lacking with Dillon Brooks, and some of this is image and reputation and toughness and all this other nonsense. But listen, that's what the Rockets want in their locker room. That's what they want in their organization. And okay, right? I mean, I guess.
Well, to this point, I'll say this: I think it has worked for them. Again, this is the best Rocket start we've seen in a while. So I think they wanted that toughness. To what you're saying, JT, they wanted some of that, bravado, moxie in their locker room, and that's what Dillon Brooks has provided. Again, this is number 2 defense in the NBA, where years past they have not done anything. So do I think it gets a little bit much? Yes, but especially for a young team like that. I think absolutely that's what they want out of Dillon Brooks, and he's bringing it. He's bringing a little bit of that toughness, that mentality that they want to see. Now, your issue is when you get good enough, does he start to hold you back like a Draymond Green, where you maybe lose the finals because he's kicking people, in the nuts and that type of thing? When does it go over the top? But right now for that Houston team, I think it's fine for them just personally.
Well, I think it's also
if you can reel it in.
I think it's also just a little bit of their signings were decent. Like they got Jeff Green who can still play, and they've got some veterans in that locker room that also probably have these young guys taking it a little more serious than they were last year. When you talk about Reggie Bullock, also there, Fred VanVleet. So I think it's not just Dillon Brooks doing what he does. I think it's a little bit of it has to do with just being successful in free agency and spending some money and getting some veteran guys.
And you got to give credit to Ime as well, right? Building because Ime is one of the best coaches in the NBA, I think, right? And I think that building a culture is important too when you're trying to change the trajectory of a franchise. And he's installing that, right? You've seen this Rockets team. I agree with you. It looks much, much different than the Rockets team we've seen probably in the last 5-6 years, at least easily, right? You don't got what my man said. John Wall said he got off the plane and he was going to meet up with Harden. And Harden was like, "Oh, I'm about to." Harden was going to the right. So you don't, you don't have that type of situation. But yeah, this Rockets team looks a lot differently, and credit to him for building this together. But I agree with you, right? At some point, I think if Dillon Brooks can't turn that thing on and turn it off, right, we can't tone that down. You may have an issue eventually.
Okay, let's get into what I think. Another comment here from CCam303 says it's time to bring Beasley off the bench. Yeah. We've got plenty of scoring, need some defense and hustle in that starting five. Here's the thing. So I don't usually do this, but this is what I'm gonna do. JT, I want you to give me the first. I'll let you get, because I have a feeling we're gonna disagree here. I'm gonna let you get the first word on, because again, we've seen, so Malik Beasley was out again tonight. He's had some type of an illness or whatever. He was actually probable coming into the game tonight, and then I think he went through shoot around, warm-ups or whatever, and they decided he was not going to play. So two consecutive games he misses, and another consecutive game where Andre Jackson Jr. gets the starting nod. Tonight in the starting lineup, Andre Jackson Jr., 36 minutes, 9.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 4-6 from the field, is 1 of 3 from 3. Hey, listen, you know what? They give you 6 fouls. You know how many he took? All of them.
6 of them.
All of them. He said, I got 6 fouls. I'm going to use every single one of them. So Andre Jackson Jr. did foul in the basketball game. But I'll note that he held, and his primary assignment was Fred VanVleet in almost 40 minutes of play. Fred VanVleet, 22 points, 6 assists, 8 of 16 shooting, 4 of 8 from 3. Got matched on to some other guys as well. So some good defense. Energy was good from him. But there is a question that may be on the floor. I think a lot of Bucks fans have asked for it. They've been asking for more Andre Jackson Jr. minutes. They're getting it tonight. They got it over the last night. Again, 36 minutes. Do you think that Malik Beasley has done enough, has shown you enough to come back and be in the starting lineup, or in reverse, has Andre Jackson shown you enough to where he should be in the starting lineup permanently moving forward?
So absolutely not, right? Andre Jackson Jr. has not shown you enough for him to be in the starting lineup move. I mean, are you kidding me? Listen, if anybody's going to start over Malik Beasley, I would say I thought Jay Crowder made a great argument for it when he was playing. Now, granted, Crowder's got a groin injury coming back. You may have some conditioning issues and you may have some rust, right? So I think that change gets delayed. But first off, y'all gonna put some respect on Malik Beasley's name because y'all don't want to do it, right? Listen, Malik Beasley averaging 12 and 4. I get it. He's shooting 46% from 3. And for the most part, when he's been out there, he's been a bucket much more times than he's not. Now, I understand the quote-unquote defensive liability, but let's not act like Malik Beasley has not made big defensive plays at times this year. Guys, we certainly have seen that too. I think he's one of your – I think he is your best three-point shooter on this team, right? I think that the looks that Malik Beasley – if your offense is clicking, I mean, literally, Malik, Chris – Dame shooting the things for 3, you're going to overwhelm any one of all those guys are clicking too. And I definitely think that Malik Beasley gives this team spark often. And I think that his presence, especially on the perimeter, teams have to account for, and it's a different look for your offense. Now, conversely, Andre Jackson Jr., the way he makes plays, his ability to impact the team on the court, right? Like even sometimes he's got some key passes. He'll make some dunks here and there. Defensively, he'll get steals. He'll fire guys up, right? He sparked that run the other night against it was a couple games ago where he sparked. I think the Bucks went like a 20-5 run, and was that against Indiana actually? It might have been against Indiana when the Bucks went like 18-5 run or 25 run in the first quarter there, and Andre Jackson Jr. was a big part of that, right? So I get it. I see that. I will say this. I'm not ready to see Andre Jackson Jr. play 30 minutes a night with the ones like Malik Beasley's averaging right now, I believe. So I don't think you've seen enough there. The other thing is that Andre Jackson Jr. does not give you much offensively. Listen, if he gets 8 points, we're happy because he just does not give you a whole lot offensively. So is it really worth taking Malik Beasley's 12 points per game, 3-point shooting per game? Is it really worth digging into that to get his dude Andre Jackson Jr. more run when you could just give him more minutes? You don't need to bring him. You don't need to have him actually start. I'm not agreeing with that. I don't see it. I get it, guys. I get it. We want to see more Andre Jackson Jr., and I actually agree with you, but I don't think he deserves to be a starter over Malik Beasley at this
point. Okay, so here's my question, and Chris, chime in, with your thoughts as well. Here's where I go with that. When you say he doesn't deserve to be a starter, on the flip side, your best offensive players are going to be in the starting lineup for the other team, right? Like, you're talking about offense from Malik Beasley, but we're also talking about offense from your Fred VanVleets, from your Jason Tatums. Name the guys, offensively, whatever team you want to name, your Tyrese Halliburtons, name any player you want to name, your Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, name them. Those guys are on the other side. And when your answer for them is Malik Beasley, then your question is, well, does his 12 points negate what he's going to give up? Because I already have negative defenders in Damian Lillard. I already have a negative defender now. We all know that Chris Middleton's legs are cooked. So if you're telling me I got 2 negative defenders on the floor, now I'm going to compound that by adding a third negative defender in Malik Beasley. And again, not for effort. I think he has tried tremendously hard. I think he has given all the effort. It's much like Grayson Allen. Like, there are some guys who I think just stunk it up on defense. Like, Jabari Parker didn't care. He didn't try. That I'm not accusing Malik Beasley of not caring and not trying. I'm just saying it's sometimes where you can't get it done. I played baseball back in the day for a second. And man, and so one time
hang on, what? You actually play baseball?
I played baseball for a second, and you know what? Well, I didn't do it well, but they let me pitch. Now I ran well. I could maybe steal a base to something like that. But they put me in. You know what? They let me pitch one time, and I was pitching, and I didn't get through an inning. I didn't get through an inning, JT. And you know what? Manager came out and he took the ball. He said, "Son, you ain't got it." And just took the ball, and I had to walk off. That's what happened. He said, "Son, you ain't got it." Didn't say nothing else to me. Just watch it. "Son, you ain't got it." That's what is Malik Beasley playing defense. It's not that you're not trying. It ain't the, hey, why didn't you? It's none of that. It's, son, you ain't got it. And that's all we're saying defensively. He just cannot get over screens. He cannot contest. He cannot stay in front of people. And what I'm saying when I look at March, so I guess my point when you talk about the offense and those 12 points a game that Malik Beasley is bringing you, would you rather shut down maybe 10 points from somebody else who's going to put up 30 if Malik Beasley's in the lineup? Because again, you're looking at other guys, they're going to target Damian Lillard. They're going to go target Chris Middleton. And they can also target Malik Beasley. You can't just go out, I'm going to target Andre Jackson Jr. No, you're not. And even as a rookie, he has not refined his defensive game at all. Well, you're not going out there to go target Andre Jackson Jr. And I think that's a part of it, is when you say, well, he's going to play as a backup, which, again, that's fine. But, like, tonight, he mirrored Fred VanVleet, especially late in that fourth quarter. He mirrored him. That's what Dr. Griffin chose to do, was mirror those minutes and say, okay, we're going to put you on Fred VanVleet, and we're going to ride with it. And, again, it worked out tonight. I don't know what will happen in the future. Talk about Jay Crowder, but Jay Crowder's not available at this time. If it were me, I probably would, because that's the thing. I think Malik Beasley is good, and it's not because you're not good enough. I agree with you. I don't think Andre Jackson Jr. should play 30-plus minutes a night. It's a little too much for me. But is there a scenario where Malik Beasley, and I'm saying not saying Malik Beasley can't play with when Giannis and Dame and them are on the court at all. I'm just saying, are you going to have to share some of that load? Excuse me. You have to share some of that, and you got
Here we go. Here we go straight to 8th grade. Here we go.
You got to. All right. I'm just saying, are you going to have to be in a position where you share some of that with a great defender? Because I got great offense, no defense. There are going to be times where I'd rather have the defense over the offense.
Well, when do you want your defense is the question, right? Like,
I want it to starting the game.
Do you want your defense to start? Do you want your defense to end? Right. That's the first question. The second question I got to ask though is like, hang on, and I get it. But I don't think you can argue, and I don't think any Bucks fan can argue that they've seen enough of a sample size to say that Andre Jackson Jr.'s defense is more valuable than Malik Beasley's offense. Like, you can't. Like, guys, listen, we just don't have enough of a sample size. I would need to say more. I would need to see more, right, from Andre Jackson Jr. Maybe You know, maybe if he starts a
Let me
couple
see
more
it.
games, right?
Let me see
I
it.
would need to see more before I can sit up here and legitimately argue that Andre Jackson Jr.'s defense to this team is worth much more than Malik Beasley's three-point shooting and his ability to get buckets. Because right now, I mean, we're playing right now. We're seriously going to argue that off of a few games performance here. Oh, he deserves a start over Malik. Oh, come on, man.
Here's my thing, and I want you to get on this, Chris. But here's my thing. I got offense in Giannis and Dame and Chris.
Okay, wait a minute.
And even Brooke, I got my offense covered.
Hang on.
I don't need. And listen. One thing. Houston Rockets, #2 defense in the NBA, right? And the Milwaukee Bucks put up 130 on him, and Malik Beasley was coughing up along on the sideline because he can't play, he's sick or whatever it is. So I don't necessarily. That's my thing. Do I need Malik Beasley to give me 130? No, it's nice, but I don't need it. What I need is an infusion.
Tonight you didn't.
No,
tonight
right.
You didn't need Malik Beasley. Right, when Malik Beasley hitting 8 threes. Oh, you definitely need that.
But again, here's my thing. Here's my thing. I'm looking at this bench. I got 11 points from Bobby Portis. I got 5 points from Pat Connaughton. I could use somebody off the. Here's the thing. Andre Jackson Jr. is not giving me any more points off the bench. I can use somebody that will come in and be a spark along with Bobby Portis off of the bench and play well and hit shots and give my bench an added jolt. That's really what I'm looking for. Honestly.
But couldn't we also use a guy to come in off the bench and spell one of your starters on the perimeter to go ahead and see if they can't?
Yeah, but if I've already get up 35, if I've already get up 40 in the first, I'm like, damn.
Okay,
we lost some.
Yeah, but that's more of a coaching. That's a situation. That is a situational coaching decision management there too, right? Like that's not. I mean, listen. Obviously, if somebody's getting fried in the first and somebody got 15 on them, you got to make that adjustment here. But to go ahead and say by default we're gonna start out with, I have not seen enough from Andre Jackson Jr. to say yes, it's worth starting him over Malik Beasley at this point. I get that you guys want to see Malik Beasley out of the starting lineup. I just don't think you have a strong enough argument to say Andre Jackson Jr. deserves this slot over that man. It's just I have not seen enough to even to remotely even go there. Jay Crowder, sure, we can have that debate, but Andre Jackson Jr. absolutely not.
Chris, to get in here and tell me what you're seeing. Break some of this tie down here.
Yeah, well, so you guys know I'm like the middleman here, so I think there's positives in both. I really do. I think seeing Andre Jackson Jr. out there for 2 games in a row or whatever, and him being able to defend and not take as many shots, not take the ball out of Dame and Giannis's hand as much as Malik Beasley does, I think it opens up a lot for this Bucks offense. And I think that's why you saw Dame and Giannis both go over 25 points and Chris even down the stretch be able to get into the 20s. So I think that's a big positive of what Andre Jackson Jr. can bring. But like I agree with JT in the sense that, yeah, it is. You can throw him on some of the best scorers and stuff, but I would like to see more of that because when you're playing the Pistons, when you're playing the Rockets, it doesn't necessarily move the needle as much as you would think it does. If I see him come off the bench and against a team like the Celtics, against a team in the West like the Suns or whatever it may be, teams that have that literal bona fide scorer and superstar that you can throw him on and let him guard him for a little bit, or maybe even a Jimmy Butler type, then I would think that would move the needle enough for me to say, okay, Andre Jackson Jr. should start. But right now, I think you just haven't seen enough, and I think down the stretch he'll start to get more minutes, but I don't think he starts necessarily when Beasley comes back.
Yeah, and I don't know. I will agree. I think we've seen enough to where I want to see more. And to your point, John, when you say you haven't seen enough, I want to see more. I want to qualify what my eyes are telling me in a couple of games, and especially when you talk about Pat coming back, and you talk about Jay coming back, and Malik coming back from the guy who I think is going to start to lose that time and continues to become more expendable is a Marjan Beauchamp. Because, at this point, Andre Jackson Jr. looks more valuable than him. And we thought that he was going to make the leap. And right now, I'm more intrigued by what Andre Jackson Jr. brings than what Marjan brings. And he's also hitting the thing, we thought he can't score. He's hitting his threes at a decent clip too. Andre Jackson Jr., I know he had the one at the backboard, but he's hitting his 3-point shots at a decent clip. So if he can do that, I'm impressed. And again, no, I'm not saying he needs 30 minutes a night. But I think that infusion of him coming in, situational basketball where it makes sense. And the last thing I'll say, we talked about this the other day, where John, you want to talk about Chris versus Beasley and who's been playing well offensively. Beasley, the better shooter. I might argue right now that I've seen that I may have seen enough right now that Andre Jackson Jr. is a better just playmaker. He makes play. He goes in and makes plays. He can drive up. He can take you off the dribble and do a little bit of that. And he does not take anything away from Malik Beasley. But again, I definitely want to see more.
Look, I agree with you. Look, Andre Jackson Jr. makes plays in numerous different ways. He can make it defensively. He can make plays on the fast break. He can go ahead and get that open bucket. He can go ahead and throw it down if he needs to. I think he's shooting. He's actually shooting now, granted. I think he's attempted maybe like 17 or 18 threes, so nothing to write home about. But I think he's shooting. Somebody check this. Is he shooting 47% from three? I think Andre Jackson Jr. is shooting 47% from three this year, which granted, there's only been maybe like 16, 17 three-pointers he's attempted. I'm pretty sure his three-point percentage is very high.
I could take a look at that, but yeah, I think again that's some of it. Yeah, you're right. He's shooting 47% from three, not on that many attempts per night. But let's again, we're seeing it. We're seeing a lot of it. I like what I'm seeing from him, and he's playing well. He absolutely is playing well. Let's look at the comments. The comments. Again, now I will say Bucks fans are they love change, and this is what they've been wanting. CKM303 says Beasley's pretty bad defensively. Micah Ben says Andre can average 10 points if given 30 minutes a game and more opportunities. So he's basically saying, I see your 12 points, Malik Beasley, and yeah, you can give Andre those minutes. He can get them too. Marcus Mitchell
would argue you got a rookie. There's the potential of a rookie wall. I mean, okay, yeah. Right? Like, gosh.
Marcus Mitchum says, "Nah, I saw enough. It's not just about offense. Ajax does so many little things that help the team. 4 of 6 of his rebounds were offensive. He had 4 assists. Beasley isn't doing that." And Green Ranger says, "Been saying it. The 5th star needs to do the little things. Ajax rebounds, defends, passes, sets screens. The Bucks are going to score 130 or 140, regardless of who plays with the 4 starters." And then Ajax is a better passer as well. We don't need Beasley taking shots away from the other 4 guys on the floor. So it looks like the listeners are kind of all in on Andre Jackson Jr. They can be a little quick, and we can be a little quick to pull the trigger. I don't know. Maybe you do bring Malik Beasley back starting. It's only been a couple nights he's been off. So that might be a little too quick of a trigger pull. But I will say, you got on the 19th, you got the believe you have the Spurs coming up. And if you're starting to let Devin Vassell and those guys start cooking you early on, that's going to be a pretty strong indicator that defense might be a little more valuable in some spurts at some points here.
So here's what I will say, and we talked about this. I think we talked about this about a month ago. I do think that at some point, right, unless Malik Beasley, the consistency is there, and it just becomes like he's knocking down threes and clips at a rate, which I mean again 46% right now, but unless he's like night in and night out doing it, and he just becomes too valuable to take off the court, I do think that at some point that spot is probably gone. I still think that Jay Crowder is your favorite for it, provided that Jay Crowder looks the way he looked before that injury as well. But yeah, that's what I would say, and I think that's probably a very rational take on it. Having said that, look, everybody wants to see more of Andre Jackson Jr. So I think we can all agree he 100% deserves MarJon's minutes. He 100% deserves MarJon's minutes, because at this point we still hoping that MarJon's going to be something, and he's not. And we can close that book right now, and we can say MarJon is bringing nothing to the table. You are what's the corporate term? Adding value. Yeah, he's adding 0, negative value. Taking it away.
Just the guy.
Jag. So he's just a guy. He has been. He has been. Green Ranger says taking Beasley out of the lineup will force Dame to be more aggressive. One less shooter for Dame to look for. That might be something as well. And again, think of now that you mentioned, it's something to think about. 15 points in both of the last first quarters. We've been wanting Dame to have these hot starts, and is it a coincidence that Beasley out of the lineup? And again, I don't think you can argue that Beasley not being in the lineup does take shot. It gives more shots to the Giannis and the Dames of the world, because if one thing Beasley's gonna do, he's gonna get his shots up, and not that he shouldn't, because he's a good shooter. You shooting 46% from 3, you should get your shots up. But you see some of that. And Karain Jamar Kenner says Beasley's skill set is more fitting for a 6-man microwave scorer off the bench that can start in certain instances. So again, your Bobby Portis type of situation where you see, a guy off the bench come in, start cooking, and then how does Bobby Portis feel about that? Because Bobby Portis probably feels like when that bench unit comes in, I get my post ups, I do whatever I want to do, nobody bothering me. And now Beasley going to come in like, I need that rock too if he's in that 6-man unit. But again, I think good problems to have, right? Those are very good. The Bucks have good problems to have at 19-7. Figuring out your defense, your guys are playing well, and your question now is about, man, hey, who's our 5th star? Do we want more offense or we want more defense? Not that it's like, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world. So some of that, again, just really good problems that you're starting to see.
Well, so, and I love it. I love the thought, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I just will, because that's kind of what we all do, right? We get ahead of ourselves. But I just love the fact that we have options like this, because if you imagine a 7-game series, man, it's about to be pick your poison. Like, hey, this is the look we're going to give based on this personnel. This is what we're going to do. And we just have so many different options. This is, man, and shout out to John Horst, because like the depth and the potential that we have on this roster. What you think we can run? You think we can run 10 deep?
I think you can. I don't think you want to. I don't think you want to, especially because what the Bucks haven't had a tendency to do is blow people out for the most part. And so if you're in a playoff situation where it's 10 points, I don't need to see the all-bench unit. Nope, I don't need to see it. I need Giannis, Dame, Crit, those combo. I want those guys on the floor as much as possible. I think, so I still think you're probably talking 9 guys max. And in certain situations, we'll see kind of how it goes. You could see Pat Connaughton getting iced out and not play. Because I think that's gonna be the interesting part is you have some more pieces that you can use now, and there's going to be that question that we're talking about: who is the odd man out? I think Marjan's definitely gonna find himself as the odd man out, and then your question is who else? Is it gonna be Pat? Is it gonna be Jay? Is it gonna be Bobby who's gonna lose some time? Is it gonna be Malik Beasley? And especially like I said, as Andre Jackson Jr., because it could be Andre Jackson Jr., but as he starts to show his ascension and say, "Hey, look at me, I'm valuable." Yeah, that again, you just can't play them all. That's just not how it works.
And again, I will say this, and this is a broken record, right? This is broken record YouTube. This roster, I don't think is going to be the same come March. I think you're gonna see a move or two, right? I would venture to say that I don't think Pat is going to be on the roster at the end of this year, and I'm really starting to think Marjan's not going to be either.
Yeah, but I honestly, to that, like, all good problems to have for sure, and that's something that you'll figure out throughout the course of an NBA season. And I think once you keep figuring out what works and just kind of let AG play the cards, then that's good problems to have. So I think that just good as a whole.
And I think, to your point, I think Dr. Griffin has progressed from the beginning of the season to what, we're 19-7, almost 30 games in. I think he has progressed as well as a coach, and will continue 100% to do so. So I like all of that. And then JT, you say, here's what I was thinking. So I think right now, based on what we've seen, I think I'm more off of the trade Bobby, trade Pat thing. I think I'm getting more comfortable with Bobby not going anywhere this year. I've gotten where at first everything's fluid. I'd swung the other way on that, where I was like totally okay with Bobby being gone. Now I'm starting to swing the other way. Well, okay, I like Bobby. And then, I don't know about Pat and Marjan, where that's going to end up. I think it's going to be a marginal move, if anything, that you should, like I said, maybe a Pat or a Marjan that does end up on this team once we get to the deadline. But I don't see a big move coming from the Bucks where it's like, because again, the only way you can really get a big move is to move a piece like Bobby. And I got a feeling that they're not going to be willing to do that at this point in time.
I agree. In the last 10 days, last 2 weeks, you've seen Bobby, and Bobby wasn't necessarily playing great, but you've seen the value that Bobby brings in the locker room. You've seen the value that Bobby brings on the court. You've seen that Bobby value is Bobby value. Bobby Portis is one of the core pieces of this team, right? And I think Bucks fans know that now. Does national media know that? No, they're going to focus on Giannis and Dame and maybe Chris, right? But you've seen that value in Bobby, so I agree. The problem is he becomes irreplaceable in the sense of, okay, can you get a guy with maybe different skills? Okay, sure, but what about a guy in the locker room? What about a guy that has everybody's back? What about a guy that instills that toughness, that culture? We don't back down from anyone that you need on a team like this. But having said that, I do think that if you're going to make a move, you got to think Pat Connaughton is probably your first chip that you're looking at. Pat Connaughton or Marjan have got to be your first chip if you've decided that Bobby, you can't move Bobby, right? I mean, somebody One of our listeners a couple weeks ago said something about Beasley, and it felt like, listen, that is a value signing. He's making $2 million.
Yeah, no.
That would make zero sense to move Beasley. So if that's the case, I mean, really, you really only have, I mean, maybe campaign, right? Maybe, I mean,
I don't think you move him either. Because I don't think you move him either.
That's what I'm saying, like, right? Like, so if you legitimately go down this roster, when it comes to guys with value, I mean, maybe Derry Bird, right? But how much value does he truly have here? That's what I'm saying. I
forgot Derry Bird still started shooting lights out the ball too.
Yeah,
and he didn't even play tonight. Wow,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like one of those things where if we're gonna trade, okay, like, are we just gonna go straight up with draft picks in here? Because if we're gonna move an asset, you really don't have a whole lot to choose from that's worth anything.
Certainly,
because they're gonna hang up the phone if you offer Robin. If you offer Robin Lopez, somebody gonna laugh at you. They're gonna hang up the phone.
It's just certainly not enough when you look down the roster and who you're going to keep. It's just certainly not enough to grab somebody of a caliber that's going to help you even more to win a championship. Like, you're not going to get a Marcus Smart for MarJon and Pat at this point. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Memphis would recognize that those two guys aren't even helping the Bucks, and how are they going to help that poverty team in Memphis right now? Probably not going to happen. So I think you're more and more comfortable with what you have at this point, and then also getting Jay Crowder back. Like, that's another addition.
Coran Jim McKinner says Beasley Bobby off the bench will form a great pick and roll pop ISO duo, much like Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell a few years back with the Clippers. That's a really good point there. You could maybe run some pick and pop. I just don't know how well Beasley is at handling the ball outside of, again, Beasley looks more and more like a spot up shooter versus I can run a pick and pop or some type of, run some real actions with Beasley. And then another one, buyout market is the only chance for an upgrade. That's the case with every team truly competing for a chip. And you talk about it. So again, that buyout market is gonna be interesting because you have a guy that could end up on it in PJ Tucker, and that could be your chip move where you add a PJ Tucker at the buyout market, and you can see something like that as well. And that would be very interesting to add another defensive type juggernaut to kind of play and just give yourself another option there as well. But again, I think you're right. I think somebody's going to be unhappy with the playing time that they end up getting in the playoffs because, again, you just can't play everybody. And these are good problems to have when you look down your bench to try and figure out who to put in versus looking down your bench and saying, I can't go with none of y'all.
True. Now, I will say this, though. Here's the only issue with Anthony Leon, man. You bring in Anthony Leon. What does that do to Andre Jackson Jr.'s minutes, right? Like, what does that do again? Because you have, you bring him in, right? You bring in PJ Tucker. What's that do to Andre Jackson Jr.'s minutes? Then there's the Jay Crowder situation.
That's anybody you bring in. That's it. That's anybody that comes in. It's only a question of who loses minutes, who gains minutes from that guy coming. And I think, again, those are questions that have to happen. Again, Andre Jackson Jr., I don't know if anybody expected him to compete for legitimate minutes, in the playoffs. And now that's a conversation we're going to have is in the playoffs, Andre Jackson Jr. is going to be able to contribute to this basketball team. I think that's a legitimate question. And so he's going to cut into whose minutes is he cutting into. So I think, again, these are all good questions and things that we're going to see Dr. Griffin figure out as this team progresses.
And the other thing, though, and again, I hate to dwell on this, but if you do bring in a PJ or something like that, I mean, you're all but like waving the white flag on MarJon, right? Because to me, those are the minutes that are the most expendable.
True,
is MarJon. So at that point, if you bring in somebody like that, look, I mean, he might as well not even have the jersey on underneath the shooting shirt. He might as well just be on the bench,
street
tank
clothes.
top underneath, kicking it. Right. Like I mean, the NFL does that where the guys who are not active are wearing, I don't know, team issue apparel. Yeah, you pretty much can do that for MarJon at that point. You're chalking that up. And again, I do think if you do bring in PJ, yeah, why wouldn't you look to move MarJon?
I mean, the last thing I'll say on this topic too is, like, if you do bring in PJ Tucker, I mean, he's not necessarily guaranteed any minutes. I mean, we see what's going on with him right now. He's not getting any play time. So he would have to prove himself and prove that he could still play. But I think regardless, if you do bring in PJ Tucker, great guy to have in the locker room. You see what the Pacers are trying to do, grabbing James Johnson and bringing some toughness. He probably won't even play for them, but it wouldn't hurt to bring back a guy that was pivotal in a championship run, even if he's not giving you minutes or Andre Jackson Jr.'s minutes specifically.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. Big dog TJJ says another great effort off the boards and another game of elite offense. They are finding their way. Kaishia Traj says put together back-to-back complete games. Love the team's energy, chemistry. AG playing young guys and our stars playing like stars. And Jump_Pierre says Giannis still needs to work on his decision making and free throws. Also, that 1-3 in mid range was just him being an idiot, basically. Tanked his efficiency. I don't think Giannis cares about efficiency. He's playing basketball. So that kind of is what it is. Let's give out some game balls tonight, fellas. I'll let you guys start. And who are you giving out your game ball to tonight? I think there's a number of different directions you can go. Giannis had a night where he eclipsed the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in rebounds. Chris Middleton went crazy in the fourth quarter. Damian Lillard had 39. Andre Jackson Jr. played great defense. Who are you going? Where are you going to game balls?
I gotta go Damian. I gotta go Damian Lillard. Right, getting it back. Obviously the 39 and 11, and being an old school man, I love the 12 for 13 from the free throw line. I thought I got to give my game ball to Dame tonight. I think it's definitely well deserved. If I had a second game ball, might go ahead and slide that thing to Andre Jackson Jr. for stepping up big in 36 minutes of playing time.
Okay, Chris.
So I actually just got an alert on my phone. It says Bucks secure game ball. So we can give out the game ball tonight. It's not in a foreign locker room. I would give it to Giannis just because what he's able to do night in, night out, 17 rebounds. I mean, the effort just never drops from Giannis, and the record very impressive to be 29 years old and have the franchise record in rebounds. I don't know if that'll ever be broken because assuming he stays his whole career in Milwaukee, he's going to keep grabbing more and more boards and keep setting that record high. So, yeah, I'll give it to Giannis, and then that leaves room for Trey to go ahead and shed some light on Chris. Unless
That
you're
was,
not giving it to
an
Chris.
impressive record from Giannis. I thought, because again, that record from Kareem stood from what did he leave the Bucks? 74, 75, 76, something like that. So that stands the test of time for 50 years, however long it was. So that record will hold for a long time for Giannis. And to your point, Chris, I think you're right. I'm going to give it to Chris Middleton. 16 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, you can't. Listen, I thought he was electric. No, was it 14 in the fourth?
Yeah, 14. Yeah,
14 in the fourth quarter. I mean, he was electric. Those were big buckets down the stretch. Those were contested shots. Wasn't like he just spotting up, shooting open threes, guys in his face. Like he had an and one at the top of the key as well that went in. So Chris had a really great night. And again, it was looking like it was going to be a bad night for Chris. And then he stepped it up and made and again showed you again a third option that puts that not just can't just find ways to get buckets here, but I'm talking about in crucial possessions, crucial buckets down the stretch. You close that thing out again. It's 11. As the Bucks end up winning by 9, so it wasn't a guarantee at all. You went ahead and did what you had to do to make sure you got that and secured that victory. Let's look around the NBA and sports as the Bucks win 128-119. Starters, hold on, I gotta say this, John. Anybody catch that game out in Carolina? Anybody catch Bryce Young, 6 for 6, 58 yards down the stretch in the fourth quarter to lead the Carolina Panthers to the second win? Anybody see that? Anybody see my guy Bryce Young looking like a franchise quarterback?
Y'all won 9-7.
Hey,
stop playing me.
Hey,
come on, man. Y'all went out there.
Hey, what you say? What you say, JT? You gotta take the pretty wins with the gritty wins.
Yeah, yes, man. I guess. Yeah, I'll give you that. You know what? Side note though, this Giannis thing. You know what's wild to me about Giannis this record? Each and every single rebound he gets from here on out is going to be record breaking. That is so crazy to me. That like it's a situation where each and every single rebound he's breaking the record, like literally just doing his job every single time. And that record, I mean, what was it like? 7,400. What's that record?
I couldn't tell you.
What's that number? Whatever that is, man, that number's about to be crazy. Because especially Giannis playing here at least a few more seasons, man. That record's about.
It's like the LeBron scoring record, where every bucket he makes is going to continue to press on, and he's playing well. And Giannis the same exact way. So I agree with that 100%. Warriors, Blazers, 82. All right now in the third quarter, the Celtics continue their dominance. They are 20-5, 114-97 over the Orlando Magic. Okay, Drew Holiday with 14 points on 6 of 12 shooting. I tried to check in and see what he did. All their starters in double digits, so good job from the Boston Celtics there. Pelicans win 146-110 over the San Antonio Spurs. And the Phoenix Suns do get a win 112-108 over the Washington Wizards. Side note, again, I talked about it, I think last night, but Bradley Beal is still out for the next with these few weeks with the when he rolled his ankle the other night. So a lot of good stuff there. NFL continues to crank up. The Dallas Cowboys got absolutely they got destroyed tonight by the Buffalo Bills. So I'm sure Cam Newton is somewhere sipping on something, saying, "I told you so. I told you so." On Dak Prescott, and Baltimore is up right now 17-7 on the Jacksonville Jaguars early in the fourth quarter. Anything else you guys, want to talk about from around the day or anything?
Better not pound his damn chest, because listen, like you can point to this game, but you can point to the last like 7-8 weeks before. And listen, everybody knew Dak Prescott was probably due for a bad game, but this one game does not validate Cam's opinion of calling him a game manager. This Cowboys team stunk if you watch this game, right? Like, I mean, there was a whole lot of like looking awful. I mean, I guess the running game kind of got. The running game was okay, but the reality of it is that, they just looked bad. They came out and they had a clunker. And quite honestly, I saw Dak balling against the Eagles last week, which I think is a much better team than this Buffalo Bills team.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen's been really good this year. And, it's tough, the injuries he's had to deal with. But that's what good quarterbacks do, is also just being able to do more with less. And they've been heating up here, and we'll see what happens in the AFC race.
Patrick Mahomes was like crap too. I'll just throw that out there. He was not.
Tony didn't help him tonight. Out,
Right? Yeah.
the second pick or whatever was dropped. But
right, hitting guys in the hands, man.
Kadarius doing Kadarius things.
Hey, but exactly. How about Rashee Rice? We talked about him.
JT. JT.
You got to put some respect on his name. Listen, I put a little respect on Rashee Rice's name, right? Okay. Right. Top 15. I think he's top 15 in receiving touchdowns this year. And he's probably top 40 in receiving yards and maybe top 60 in receptions. Right. He's a rookie. I mean, that's not. You got to give him credit for that.
Yeah. How about this? Stat just came up. Do you know Drew Holiday? You know how many games Drew Holiday had with the Bucks where he put up 30 points?
Probably
it's got to be less than 10.
10.
Okay, he had 9.
Yeah.
And of course he played with the Bucks for a couple years, right? Was it 2 or 3 years Drew Holiday played with the Bucks? Is it 3 seasons?
3 seasons.
3 seasons. Okay, so he had 9 games, 30 more points. Damian Lillard has played around 30. Well, I guess 19-7. I think he missed a couple games as well. So he's played less than 30 games with the Bucks. You know how many games he has with 30 plus points?
Probably 11.
He has 9. Same amount. So same amount of time. That's just funny. 3 seasons with the Bucks. Drew Holiday, 9 games with 30 plus points. Damian Lillard has done that in less than less than a third of the NFL season. The NBA season. So again, just shows you the difference in the mindset and the identity of this basketball team. And again, that's my thing. Everybody keeps asking, what is the identity of this basketball team? It's offensive, and then can you infuse some defense in it? This team just continues to look better and get better, and I'm really enjoying what the Milwaukee Bucks are doing. We are going to be off at the Cream City crossover until I believe the after Christmas. So the Cream City crossover is going to go dark until the 27th, is what I'm thinking, until the Brooklyn Nets, right? So this is going to be the last one for a while. Tonight is the 17th, so we're going to take our Christmas break. Well deserved, guys, at the CCC. Been doing a great job. Everybody's been doing a great job listening, tuning in, liking, following, subscribing, all of that. So we appreciate it. And again, the Bucks win it tonight. A very nice win, solid win indeed. 128-119 over the Houston Rockets. JT, Chris, give us the final words. Let's get out of here.
Hey, man, we catching our stride. I'm looking forward to this. I'm excited for this Christmas Day game. I'm excited for this next week, right? Got the Spurs on Tuesday, the Magic on Thursday, got the Knicks on Saturday, and then on Christmas Day, we're playing the Knicks again. So man, let's get it, guys. Let's enjoy it. Yeah, let's. I look forward to definitely connecting with everybody in our next show.
Yeah, good to see the Bucks just keep rolling, keep playing good basketball. Shout out to Coach AG doing his thing, but I also want to shout out another AG in college basketball doing his thing, Anthony Grant, having the Dayton Flyers rolling. Let's go. Good win over Cincinnati. Got us in the top 30 of the NCAA's net rankings. So see the Dayton Flyers in March, hopefully this year.
Yeah, shout out to my guy Deron Holmes doing his thing. So that's all good stuff. Yeah, the Bucks are absolutely rolling, doing their thing. Got some tough opponents coming up. I like the homestand the Bucks are on. They're playing well. You just can't deny that. Good win tonight against Houston. You got some winnable games coming up. I will be in Milwaukee for that game on the 21st against the Orlando Magic. So say what up if you see me at the game. And again, this has been a Cream City Media Group production. A fun one. Final out in Milwaukee, 128-119. The Bucks improved to 19-7 over the Houston Rockets. Don't take no wood nickels. Courage.